occupying spaces that we as Black people have normally been kept out of, either through process or structure, or just, you know, people not really touting diversity.
Coming up on Another Act, I talk with actor Mehcad Brooks, who steps into the world of video gaming with Mortal Kombat the movie, and who has his eyes on getting behind the camera and maybe putting on a cowboy hat one of these days. Mehcad, it seems like at one point your life was written. Your dad was an NFL athlete. You were gifted athletically, but then you had the nerve to also excel academically, but you pivoted. At what point did you decide, I want to act?
I was 15 years old. I was really good at basketball. I was kind of just playing all the sports, and then my mother forced us into this leadership enrichment arts program called LEAP down in Austin, Texas. And I remember, you know, they kind of forced us to watch an opera, and they forced us to watch a musical, and they forced us to watch plays. And I met this guy who was an opera singer. He was kind of like me. He was like my build. He was a big guy from Houston. And I remember he was singing opera in Russian, French, and Italian, and he lived in Switzerland. And he's telling me about his life, and I was thinking to myself, that's an option. Like I didn't realize that we could go off and do things like that. So after that conversation, that was it for me. I was like, wait, hold on. I can go sing opera in a language I don't understand and live in a place I've never heard of. That's even if I don't want to do that, I realize that there's options. And so it was around the time I was 15 or 16 years old when I expanded those horizons.
Yeah. What did your family think about that?
At first, my family was like, "Well, that's not a career. You can't do that." My mother is a journalist, a very good journalist. My stepfather is an attorney, so they're steeped in academia. And like you said, my biological father is a football player, or it was a football player, a football coach. And we had never seen anybody succeed in the arts, you know, in my family. So it was contentious at first, but you know, you have to make the decisions that you're going to be happy with in life yourself. You know.
Yeah. At what point were you, and what did you experience where you said, okay, this is why I went in this direction, as opposed to going in the direction that everyone else thought I should? Was it a particular role? Was it an audition? Was it a scene? Was it a moment? Like, what was that like for you? What was the thing that you took back to Texas and said, see, this is why I did this?
So that's kind of a two-part question, because the thing that made me realize I really wanted to do it, I was 15 years old, and I was actually, we put on a performance, right? We had to write, produce, and then act in a performance, and a bunch of 15-year-olds, nobody wants to do it. So I did it, and I loved it. And I realized, like, you know, what acting in sports, particularly live acting in sports, have in common is when the ball's in your hand, all eyes are on you. It's time for you to perform. And there was that, it came from the same place of, like, if somebody passes you the ball at the 3-point line, when you walk out on the stage, it comes from the same place, and it was fulfilling the same need in me. So I realized that I didn't have to sacrifice my body, you know, to succeed. And for that realization at that age was fantastic for me. I think the first thing that I did where I really came home was like, I have a career. That was Glory Road. I shot that in 2004, and it was a bedtime story for me. So like, it was like, my father's from West Texas. He's from Odessa, and UTEP is in El Paso. So, you know, once a week, twice a week, when I was a kid, I would always hear these stories about the UTEP team, the first multicultural team to win a national championship. And when I got the audition for it, I was like, wait, I know this story. And so it just kind of brought it full circle. My parents were like, oh, you're doing something that the world knows about. That's interesting. And I think it kind of brought it home for them too.
Yeah, you've actually brought several different athletes to life over the course of your career. What's that like for you, especially knowing that you sidestepped that as an actual career for yourself? and also, you said something just now that was so important. You didn't have to sacrifice your body, but you still got to be an athlete.
Listen, the thing I love the most about acting is like you get to live several different lives at once, right? So I've played in the NFL, like I've played professional football as an actor. I've played professional basketball as an actor. I've played baseball as an actor. So it's like when you're living these existences and particularly on a television series where you're doing it for years at a time, you kind of get the taste of it. You're like, okay, this is great, and I'm so happy I'm not doing this. Like, you know, every now and then, playing a football player, I would get hit, or I'd pull a hamstring, or you know, I'm like, all right, well, you know, this is great for on camera, but this is not something I want to do in my life. And I fulfilled that need, right? I fulfilled that need on camera, and it was great.
Much greater than being hit by a 300+ pound lineman, I would imagine, or something. So
I wouldn't trade any day of the week. I would not trade.
But that all, of course, brings us to Mortal Kombat.
First learned about this 7 years ago on a mission in Brazil to capture a wanted fugitive.
How did this role come to you?
I came to it. The audition was out there, and my team called me up and said, "Hey, you know, there's an audition for Jax," and I was like, "Jax?" They're like, "Yeah." I go, "Jax from Mortal Kombat, Jax?" They're like, "Yeah." And so my first question was, "Is it rated R?" And they said yes. I said, "Oh, so y'all gonna make Mortal Kombat? All right, cool." And as time, you know, so I auditioned for it, and I got the role maybe 2 months later. But I think one of the important things is like I try to always do the work in the physical world, but also in the quantum. So like I'll bust my ass in the audition. I will go to the gym. I'll make sure that I gained 45 pounds for the role. I went to the gym before I got the yes, because if I'm gonna gain the 45, I got to start now, right? And then I also just woke up every single day and visualized it. I visualized it every single day. This one scene in particular, and until it felt really natural, until it felt like a future memory, if you will. And I think it's really important, you know, if anybody's trying to achieve anything, that you remember that there's also work you can do in the quantum realm. There's work that you can do in between actually doing the work, if that makes sense.
What types of things are you looking for at this point in your career, and how does Jax kind of fall in line with that?
I'm looking for things that challenge me. I'm also looking for occupying spaces that we as Black people have normally been kept out of, either through process or structure, or just, you know, people not really touting diversity. So I'm looking into sci-fi. I'm looking into time travel. I'm looking into westerns. I'm looking into spaces that we don't normally see ourselves in. I think one of the problems, I think one of the reasons, there's many reasons, but I think one of the reasons that we're having the conversation, if our life matters, with some people, is because that, you know, Hollywood's got some sociological bills to pay. For decades, it's been an accomplice in laundering America's bigotry, right? And otherizing you and me, exotifying you and me, putting us on the outskirts of the stories, even sometimes when those stories are about us, right? Like, how are you gonna make a movie about Jackie Robinson and it's about Branch Rickey?
Right.
I mean, like, what did Branch Rickey do? So I'm looking forward to a time when we can tell our stories without the context of or how adjacent it is to dominant culture. And I think that you know, Afrofuturism is where I'm headed. Like, I want to see us fighting the dragon. I want to see us time traveling. I want to see us in outer space. I want to see us doing things that we normally don't do. And I think the more that we have diverse heroes, the less we're having dumb conversations about if somebody's life matters.
Where were you in your career when you first started thinking that you wanted to go behind the camera?
I was 16.
Mm.
I went to USC Film School, so it's been part of the plan the whole time. It's one of those things where you have to leverage what you have, right? So I'm leveraging my acting as a negotiation chip, if you will. And so it's almost the reverse in some ways, the sports analogy, because it's like, let's say you have a great player who's had a great career, but he's 37 and now, you know, his knees are almost gone. And so he's got to think about his transition. For me, it's almost like, it's if you were, let's say, using the same analogy, the basketball player's 28 and he's in the prime of his career. And he's like, well, you know what? I kind of want to play for a team now that gives me the ball more. And I also want to play for a team that designs plays, not just for me, but for people who play like me, right? And so, yeah, I'm trying to be a player coach, player owner. Absolutely. And before the career is over, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I still got my, I'm good.
I love all of that. And I look forward to seeing whatever it is you're bringing to us first as a director. Thank you so much for doing this today. This was awesome.